The dealership floor gleamed like a mirror. Designer suits, luxury watches. Everyone here had money, except him. Marcus stood at the counter in his grease-stained jeans and worn-out work boots, holding a crumpled check. The salesman didn't even try to hide his smirk. "You're here to buy a car?" he asked, voice dripping with condescension. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, I've been saving for years." The salesman glanced at his coworkers. Someone snickered. Another whispered just loud enough for Marcus to hear. "Probably can't even afford the floor mats." Marcus felt the heat rise in his chest, but he stayed calm. He'd dealt with people like this his whole life. Poor kid from the South Side. Dropped out of school to fix cars in a garage that barely kept the lights on. "I'd like to see the sedan in the window," Marcus said quietly. The salesman leaned back, arms crossed. "That's a $90,000 vehicle, buddy. Maybe you should start with something more realistic." Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang, and everything changed. Marcus ignored the call and slipped his phone back into his pocket. He wasn't going to let them rattle him. "Look," he said, keeping his voice steady, "I have the money. I just want to see the car." The salesman exchanged a look with his manager, a sharp-dressed man with slicked-back hair who had been watching from across the room. The manager walked over, sizing Marcus up like he was a stain on the marble floor. "Let me guess," the manager said. "You've got, what, $5,000? Maybe $7 if you're lucky?" Marcus pulled out his checkbook. "I can pay in full today." The manager actually laughed, out loud. So did two other salespeople nearby. "In full," the manager repeated. "Listen, pal, this isn't a used car lot. We don't do charity cases here." Marcus's jaw tightened. He'd worked 80-hour weeks, skipped meals, slept in his shop some nights just to save rent money. And now, standing in front of people who'd never worked a real day in their lives, he was being treated like garbage. One of the saleswomen whispered to her coworker, "I bet that check bounces the second he walks out." Marcus felt his phone buzz again. Same number. He glanced at the screen. California area code. Something told him he should answer. "Excuse me for a second," Marcus said, stepping away from the counter. The salespeople rolled their eyes. One muttered, "Yeah, take your time." Marcus answered. "Is this Marcus Chen?" The voice was calm, professional. A woman. "Yeah, that's me," Marcus said. "Mr. Chen, this is Rebecca Lawson from Harmon and Steele Law Group in Los Angeles. I've been trying to reach you for 2 weeks." Marcus frowned. "I think you have the wrong number. I don't know any lawyers." "You do now," she said. "I'm calling regarding the estate of Dr. William Chen." Marcus froze. My uncle." "Yes, I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Chen. Dr. Chen passed away 3 months ago. You're listed as his sole heir." Marcus hadn't spoken to his uncle in over a decade. The man had left the family years ago, moved to California, became some kind of tech investor. Marcus had always assumed he'd been written off. "I don't understand," Marcus said quietly. "Mr. Chen, your uncle left you everything. The estate includes real estate holdings, stock portfolios, and liquid assets. The total valuation is approximately $47 million. The world tilted. Marcus blinked. His ears rang. "Wait, what?" $47 million, Mr. Chen. "We need you to come to Los Angeles to finalize the paperwork, but legally the assets are yours. I'll be sending over the documents today." Marcus stood there, phone pressed to his ear, heart pounding. Behind him, the salesman was still laughing with his coworkers. They had no idea. Marcus took a slow breath. He thanked the lawyer, ended the call, and slipped the phone back into his pocket. Then he turned around. His face showed nothing. No shock, no emotion, just calm. He walked back to the counter, each step deliberate. The manager didn't even look up, but Marcus knew something they didn't. Everything had just changed. Marcus walked back to the counter. The manager was leaning against the desk, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even look up. "You done wasting our time?" he asked. Marcus placed his hands on the counter. "I'll take the sedan," he said, "and the SUV next to it, and that sports car in the back." The manager's head snapped up. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Marcus said calmly. "All three. I'll pay in full. Cash wire transfer if you prefer." The salesman blinked. "You're joking." "I'm not." The manager's smirk faded. "That's over $300,000. "I'm aware." For the first time, the room went quiet. The manager straightened up, suddenly unsure. "Look, if this is some kind of prank..." Marcus pulled out his phone and opened his banking app. He turned the screen toward the manager. The balance read, $8,450,000. The manager's face went pale. "That's just my checking account," Marcus said. "The rest is being transferred this week." The saleswoman who'd whispered about the bounced check actually gasped. The manager stammered. I apologize, Mr. Chen. We didn't realize." "Yeah," Marcus said. "You didn't." He turned to the young salesman who'd greeted him at the door, the only one who hadn't laughed. "What's your name?" Jason," the kid said nervously. "Jason, you're going to handle my sale, not him." Marcus nodded toward the manager. "And when you're done, I want to speak to the owner of this dealership." Jason nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." The manager just stood there, frozen. Marcus walked out of that dealership 2 hours later. 3 new cars, a formal apology from the owner, and the satisfaction of knowing he'd never have to prove himself to people like that again. But here's the thing. Marcus didn't buy those cars to show off. He bought them because he could. Because for the first time in his life, he didn't have to shrink himself to fit someone else's expectations. The lesson? Never judge someone by their appearance. You never know what they've been through. You never know what's coming. And sometimes, the person you underestimate is the one who changes everything. Marcus had spent years being looked down on, years being told he wasn't enough, but he kept working, kept grinding, kept his dignity intact. And when his moment came, he didn't gloat. He didn't need to. He just stood there, calm and quiet, and let his actions speak. That's real power. If this story hit you, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because there's more where this came from. Stories that remind you, never let anyone make you feel small. You never know what's coming next.